Which of these plated trainers is my top of 2025? Today we're comparing the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 3 with the Boston 13 from Adidas. What's up everybody, I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and you're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. Now, if it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may notice some timestamps below. Feel free to jump around to the various parts of this video, but if you do so, I'd sure appreciate it if you come back, watch the full thing when you get a sec, because I put a lot of time and effort into these. Now, quick disclaimers and disclosures are that I did receive these shoes directly from their respective brands for free for the purpose of review. That being said, I'm not paid, no one gives me talk tracks, talking points, anything along those lines. No one watched the video beforehand, and all thoughts are entirely my own. With that out of the way, let's talk about the intended use of these shoes. Now, plated trainers are really going to be your speed dedicated shoes, right? Some people choose to race in these, and I think that that is totally fine. They're going to be a little bit more durable, a little bit dumbed down when compared to racing shoes or super shoes, but for the most part, these are the types of shoes that you're going to want to put on when you're doing some fast miles. As such, that's how we're going to be talking about the shoes today. Now, from a price standpoint, there is a decent discrepancy between these two, which is kind of rare. So the Boston 13 comes in at $160. Meanwhile, the Wave Rebellion Flash 3 is $180. Now, I do think that $170 is about the average for this category. The Boston is uncharacteristically low priced in this category, to be clear. The Wave Rebellion Flash 3 is a little bit high, but still within normal ranges. So really, as far as cost goes, like the Boston is just hard to beat, period, right? Now, from a specs perspective, the shoes are pretty close in terms of weight. The Flash comes in at 8.6 ounces, which is 243 grams, and the Boston comes in at 9 ounces, which is 255 grams. Both of those, I would say, for plated trainers, are in the normal range, which is nice. So you're not getting overly heavy or overly light, just about average. Now, from a stack standpoint, the Boston has 37 in the heel, 30 in the forefoot for a 7mm drop. Big difference here, though, is that the Flash has a 37.5 heel, a 34.5 forefoot for a 3mm drop. So very, very low drop, and Boston is going to be kind of that mid drop overall. From a fit perspective, I found that the Boston fits, I don't know if I'd call it a full half size short, but maybe a quarter size short. It's not enough that it made me want to half size up, because then I felt like it would have been too big, too baggy, but it does fit a little bit short. The Wave Rebellion Flash 3, however, fits true to size lengthwise. Now, between the two, I would say that both have fairly snug midfoots and then standard heel and standard toe box. The uppers both use an engineered mesh, but the take on engineered mesh is a little bit different. On the Boston 13, you can see that the mesh is a little bit more holey, right? Or has a little bit more breathability there, but the material itself is a little bit harsher as well. Maybe harsh isn't the right word, but it's just a little bit rougher on foot. I do find that it is still comfortable, and you do have actually some really, really nice cushion there in the heel. But for the most part, you know, I don't think it's going above and beyond and necessary in any area. I think it's a really, really well executed upper, but it's nothing to necessarily write home about. Right, the tongue has some light cushion, which is nice. It is fully gusseted, which is very nice. I do think that should be the standard. And overall, again, good cushion in the heel, good lockdown in the midfoot. I feel like the shoe really gets the job done. Now, if you do want to compare to another Adidas model, this is going to be more close to the Adios Pro 4 than it is the Evo SL, because I know a lot of people really, really don't like the fit of the Evo SL. They feel like it's overly baggy. That is not the case with the Boston 13. The Mizuno Wave Rebellion Flash 3, again, engineered mesh, but it's not quite as breathable overall, but it doesn't lack breathability, to be clear. I still feel like it gets the job done, and it's a little bit more comfortable overall, a little bit softer on the foot. You do get less cushion there in the heel area, and the other thing I would kind of gripe a little bit about is that the tongue is not gusseted. That being said, there are multiple places where the laces actually run through the tongue, so it does keep it in place pretty good, which was a problem in previous models, right? Lockdown wise, I also think you get good lockdown in the midfoot of this upper. I think between the two, the Flash upper is more comfortable, but I do think that the Boston upper is going to be a little bit more breathable. Now, from a midsole perspective, you actually have TPEE foams on both shoes. So with the Boston 13, you have the Light Strike Pro foam up top, which is going to be Adidas's version of a TPEE foam. And then you're going to have fiberglass infused rods, which run through the shoe, act kind of like a plate element. And then you have an EVA TPU blend with the Light Strike bottom here. So you have a firmer foam on bottom, the stiffening rods through the middle, and then the bouncy TPEE foam up top. On the Wave Rebellion Flash, similar setup, you have Mizuno Energy XP, which is their TPEE foam up top. You have actually an EVA-based foam on bottom, which is actually pretty soft, and then you have a fiberglass plate, which runs through the shoe for a little bit of that rigidity. Now, between the two, the Boston 13 is a lot more rigid, right? Like, it does not want to bend the same way that the Flash bends right there. Now, both of them are going to be stiff, but between the two, the Boston 13 is a lot stiffer. As such, it also feels like it has a lot more ground feel, and it's a lot firmer in that forefoot area, with that EVA TPU foam on bottom being pretty firm. That light strike foam is pretty firm underfoot. Over here on the Flash, it's going to be a lot softer and a lot bouncier, but it's going to have a little bit less snap, a little bit less forward propulsion, more just bounce and cushion underfoot. Right? From a stability perspective, it's not even close. The Boston is like 10 times more stable because the Rebellion Flash is one of those shoes that actively kind of pushes you inwards, right? Now, I'm not going to say that the Boston 13 is like the most stable shoe on the market by any means. Just in this comparison, it's significantly more stable. Now, I think that the Flash, and I don't think either of these are really dedicated for long run workouts. You'll have the Prime X and the Neo Vista for those, but between the two, I think that the Flash is more capable of kind of handling the long runs, right? It's just going to be more comfortable underfoot, so long as you have the stability and lower limb strength to kind of tolerate it, and that's kind of the catch of the shoe. With the Boston 13, I think it is going to be a little bit better for the shorter, faster stuff. It's a little bit snappier, a little bit more nimble, even though it's a little bit heavier, right? Ultimately, both of the midsoles are really, really good, and there's a reason why I'm considering these two for my top plated trainers, and it really comes down to your preference. So if you like a firmer, snappier feel underfoot, Boston. If you like a bouncier, softer feel underfoot, Wave Rebellion Flash. Now moving to the outsoles, on the Boston 13, you have that light Traxion rubber as well as the Continental rubber there in that forefoot area. And then on the Wave Rebellion Flash 3, you have the, I believe it's the X10 rubber from Mizuno. If not, it's just a durable rubber, and it does the job really, really well. I think between the two, the Flash 3 has the better outsole. It has a grippier outsole overall. I do think that the Boston 13 does a really, really good job as well. Continental rubber traditionally does well, but I have concerns, to be honest, about the durability of the light Traxion foam, or not foam, the light Traxion rubber, which is Adidas's proprietary rubber. I do think it's grippy. I just think there's some durability issues there that will wear down a little bit faster than intended. But from an overall durability standpoint or an overall longevity of underfoot feel, I would probably trust that the Boston foam is going to last a little bit longer, just because you do have a little bit firmer element under there, where on the Wave Rebellion Flash 3, it's going to be very, very bouncy, but I can see that wearing away pretty quickly. So, you know, my pick between the two, and I have to look at it just for plated trainer purposes, like not overall enjoyment of the shoe, because I think I enjoy the Flash 3 a little bit better, just like that I really just love the Mizuno Energy XP foam. I think it's very, very bouncy, very, very fun. But I do think that the Boston 13 accomplishes a little bit more of what I want from a plated trainer. If I'm going to be using this more for speed work, I would feel better on a track in the Boston 13 than I would in the Wave Rebellion Flash 3. It's a little bit snappier, right? That firmer underfoot feel is going to kind of help me get that turnover a little bit more rather than sinking into the shoe a little on the Flash 3. So, you know, comes down to preference at the end of the day, though. If you want that firmer, snappier feel, again, Boston. If you want that bouncier, softer feel, Flash. So just some final thoughts. I think a lot of shoes end up putting secondary tech into the plated trainer compared to the super shoe. And I like that both of these brands, I don't feel like really held back, right? You have your top tier TPEE foams up top, and then you can use, yes, some more stable, firmer foams underneath for more durability and lower general cost, right? I don't think it's coincidence that these two are the two that are at the top of my current rankings, just because these two brands are two of the brands that are at the top of my current rankings. So really, again, while it comes down to preference, I think that both of these are doing a great job, and I'm excited to see continual updates to them and what the brands decide to do. So if you watched this far, I sure appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what questions you have about either of these shoes, what other comparisons you'd like to see, and what I could be doing better as a reviewer to make these more entertaining for each and every one of you. Also, if you watched this far and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so today. Leave a like as well, turn on those notifications so you get notified every time I drop a new video, which is typically Monday through Friday. And just to wrap us up, I'm gonna leave you with a question, which is, what has been your favorite plated trainer of 2025? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody.